When humanity's elite deployed, the stars trembled again. HFY Story. The gathering storm station Meridian floated in the neutral zone between three major galactic territories, a massive wheel of metal and glass that served as the diplomatic heart of civilized space. Inside its grand assembly hall, representatives from 47 species gathered for the annual Galactic Trade Summit. The air hummed with a dozen different languages, translated in real time by sophisticated neural interfaces. Bioluminescent beings floated near the ceiling, while silicon-based entities pulsed with soft light from their designated platforms. Captain Elena Vasquez stood at the human observation deck, watching the proceedings with quiet intensity. She was 42 years old, compact and muscular in a way that made most alien species uncomfortable. Her dark hair was pulled back in a practical bun, and her eyes constantly scanned the room with the awareness of someone who had spent 20 years in Earth's Special Operations Command. She wore the formal uniform of Earth's Diplomatic Security Force, but everyone in the room knew she was much more than a bodyguard. Beside her stood Lieutenant Marcus Webb, her second-in-command and tactical analyst. He was younger, 35, with the lean build of a distance runner and the mind of a chess master. His fingers danced across a holographic tablet, monitoring security feeds and communication channels simultaneously. Next to him was Dr. Kenji Tanaka, the team's xenobiologist and field medic, a calm man in his early 40s whose gentle demeanor concealed extensive combat medicine experience. Rounding out the visible team was Sergeant Yara Okonkwo, their engineering specialist, a tall woman with powerful shoulders and hands that could assemble or disassemble almost any technology. In the known galaxy, the summit had been routine until the emergency broadcast shattered the diplomatic pleasantries. Every screen in the assembly hall suddenly displayed the same horrifying image: a mining colony on fire, structures collapsing, and civilians running in panic. The transmission was fragmentary, breaking up with interference, but the desperate voice of the colony administrator cut through clearly enough. "This is Epsilon 7 mining colony, requesting immediate assistance. We are under attack by unknown hostiles. Orbital defenses have failed. Ground forces are overwhelming our security personnel. We have 15,000 civilians with no means of evacuation. Please, someone help us." The transmission ended abruptly, replaced by static. The assembly hall erupted into chaos. High Chancellor Theron of Illusion, with silver skin and multiple sensory appendages, called for order with limited success. His species had led the Galactic Council for 3 centuries, but his voice carried the tremor of someone confronting a problem beyond his experience. "We must respond immediately," declared Ambassador Krill, a mantaran whose insectoid features clicked with agitation. "Epsilon 7 is a neutral colony under Council protection. This attack violates every treaty we have established." "But who attacks them?" asked Counselor Vesh, a gelatinous being whose translator rendered his burbling into smooth diplomatic tones. "We have no identification of these hostiles." Marcus was already working his tablet, pulling up enhanced images from the fragmentary transmission. He whispered to Elena, "Captain, I'm getting partial identifiers. Ship configurations match Vosker Collective design patterns." Elena felt ice form in her stomach. The Vosker Collective was a militant faction that had been silent for nearly a decade, operating from the galactic rim where few species dared to venture. They were known for their brutal efficiency and complete disregard for civilian casualties. If they had returned to active aggression, the entire balance of galactic peace was threatened. High Chancellor Theron was speaking again, his voice rising above the commotion. "The Council Defense Fleet is currently dispersed across 6 sectors. Our nearest response unit is 48 hours away from Epsilon 7. By the time they arrive..." He did not need to finish the sentence. Everyone understood. 48 hours meant the colony would be ash and memories. "We have assets closer," came a new voice, cutting through the despair with unexpected confidence. All eyes turned to Ambassador Chen, Earth's senior diplomatic representative. He was an older man with iron-gray hair and the bearing of someone who had witnessed humanity's transformation from isolated world to galactic participant. He gestured toward Elena and her team. "Captain Vasquez and her tactical response unit can reach Epsilon 7 in 18 hours. They are trained for exactly this type of crisis intervention." The reaction was immediate and divided. Some species looked hopeful, others skeptical, and a significant number appeared distinctly uncomfortable. Humanity's reputation preceded them. Earth was classified as a Class 11 death world, a planet so hostile that its dominant species had evolved into something the galaxy found both fascinating and terrifying. Humans were strong, fast, and possessed an adrenal system that allowed them to perform extraordinary feats under stress. More disturbing to many species was humanity's psychological makeup. They were persistence hunters who never gave up, problem solvers who thrived in chaos, and warriors who had spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of organized violence. Counselor Vesh spoke carefully, his gelatinous form rippling with concern. With respect, Ambassador Chen, we are discussing a situation requiring delicate peacekeeping operations. Humanity's military capabilities are well documented, but perhaps too aggressive for civilian rescue? Elena stepped forward before Ambassador Chen could respond. She moved with the controlled grace that always made alien species instinctively step back. Counselor, my team specializes in hostage rescue and civilian protection. We have conducted 47 successful operations across hostile environments. Our primary objective would be saving lives, not engaging the enemy unless absolutely necessary. High Chancellor Theron's sensory appendages quivered as he processed this information. Captain Vasquez, I have reviewed your service record. Your success rate is impressive, but the Council must understand what we are authorizing. If we send Earth's tactical team, are we declaring war on the Voskar Collective? You are declaring that civilian lives matter more than political convenience, Elena said bluntly. The Voskar are already at war with the principles of the Council. Someone just needs to remind them that actions have consequences. Marcus stepped beside Elena, adding his analysis. High Chancellor, our preliminary data suggests the Voskar force at Epsilon 7 is a raiding party, not a full battle fleet. They are expecting easy prey and no organized resistance. If we can reach the colony quickly and establish defensive positions, we can hold until Council forces arrive for proper containment. Ambassador Krill clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. The human makes a valid tactical point. Speed is our only advantage. Captain Vasquez, if the Council authorizes your deployment, what do you need from us? Full access to colony schematics, complete intelligence on Voskar tactical patterns, and authorization to act independently once we are on the ground, Elena said immediately. My team works best without committee oversight during active operations. That statement caused another ripple of discomfort through the assembly. Giving humans unrestricted operational authority made many species nervous. But High Chancellor Theron was looking at the frozen image of burning colony buildings on the screens. He was seeing 15,000 civilians who would die without intervention. The Council will vote, he announced. But given the time constraints, we will use emergency protocols. Binary decision. Authorize Earth's tactical response team with full operational independence, or attempt to coordinate Council Defense Fleet response within existing protocols. The vote took 12 minutes. It passed by a margin of 31 to 16. Elena noted which species voted against the measure and made a mental note to remember their hesitation. Politics would matter later. Right now, only the mission mattered. Captain Vasquez, High Chancellor Theron said formally, you have the Council's authorization. Save those people. Elena saluted crisply, a gesture that meant nothing to most species present but carried weight through its obvious military precision. We will not fail them, High Chancellor. The human team moved immediately, leaving the assembly hall with purposeful strides that parted the crowd like water. They headed directly to the station's military docking ring where their ship waited. The Valkyrie's descent was not a large vessel, but it was fast and heavily modified for rapid deployment. It could carry a squad of 12 with full equipment and reach velocity that made most species physically ill from the acceleration stress. Inside the ship, the rest of Elena's team was already preparing. Corporal Luis Rodriguez checked weapons systems with the methodical attention of a man who had learned that equipment failures killed people. His specialty was close-quarters combat and urban warfare tactics. Private First Class Sarah Kim secured medical supplies while reviewing xenobiology data on species likely present at the colony. She was their junior medic and communications specialist, young but frighteningly competent under pressure. Warrant Officer James O'Brien, their pilot, was already running pre-flight sequences. He was an older man, 52, with more flight hours in hostile environments than the rest of the team combined. His hands moved across the controls with the confidence of someone who had flown through situations that should have been impossible and emerged victorious every time. Captain on deck. Marcus called out as Elena entered, a formality that the team observed even in crisis situations. Status report, Elena ordered, moving immediately to the tactical display. Pre-flight complete. All systems green, O'Brien reported. I have plotted the fastest route to Epsilon 7. 18 hours if I push the engines into the red zone. 16 if I ignore safety protocols entirely. 16 hours, Elena decided immediately. Those colonists did not have time for caution. Yara was already pulling up the colony schematics that Council intelligence had transmitted. Her engineering mind absorbed the layout instantly, identifying structural vulnerabilities and potential defensive positions. Captain, this colony was built 30 years ago by the Pelthian Construction Consortium. Standard modular design with central hub and 6 radiating arms. Mining operations extend 3 kilometers below the surface. If we need to evacuate civilians, the underground tunnels could provide shelter. Assuming the Voskar have not already secured them, Marcus added, studying enemy tactical data. The Voskar prefer overwhelming surface assaults, but they are not stupid. They will block obvious escape routes. Dr. Tanaka reviewed the colony's population manifest. 15,000 civilians from 23 different species. We will need to account for environmental requirements, medical needs, and evacuation priorities. Some species cannot survive in conditions others find comfortable. We will work it out on the ground, Elena said. Right now I need everyone focused on one objective. Reach that colony alive and ready to fight. O'Brien, launch as soon as station control clears us. Copy that, Captain. Departure in 90 seconds. The Valkyrie's descent detached from Station Meridian with minimal ceremony. Its engines flared bright blue as O'Brien pushed the acceleration past recommended limits. Inside, the human crew felt the pressure as a heavy weight on their chests, uncomfortable but manageable. Most alien species would have lost consciousness from the G-forces. Humans had evolved on a world with strong gravity and adapted to handle stress that killed softer species. As the station disappeared behind them and the starfield stretched into lines of light, Elena gathered her team for final briefing. They stood in the cramped operations bay, reviewing holographic displays and checking equipment one last time. Listen carefully, Elena began. We are flying into a situation where we are outnumbered, outgunned, and operating without backup. The Voskar Collective has spent a decade preparing for renewed aggression. They chose Epsilon 7 because it is isolated and vulnerable. They expect to complete their operation before anyone can respond. So we are the surprise they did not plan for, Rodriguez said with a grim smile. Exactly. Our advantages are speed, adaptability, and the fact that we are human. The Voskar have fought Council forces before, but they have never fought Deathworlders. They do not understand what we are capable of because most species in this galaxy evolved on gentle worlds where cooperation meant survival. We evolved on Earth, where everything wanted us dead. That difference is why the Council called us. That difference is what we are going to use. Sarah Kim looked up from her medical supplies. Captain, what is our rules of engagement? The Council authorized our deployment, but they are nervous about human military doctrine. Elena's expression hardened. Our primary objective is civilian protection. We will evacuate who we can and defend who we cannot evacuate. If the Voskar interfere with that objective, we will neutralize them with appropriate force. I will not sacrifice colonist lives to make the Council comfortable with our methods. Understood, Captain, the team responded in unison. Marcus pulled up enhanced images from the original distress call.
I have been analyzing the attack patterns.
The Voskar are using standard raiding doctrine, overwhelm defenses quickly, secure key infrastructure, process captives for labor or ransom. But there is something odd here. They are concentrating forces around the central administration hub rather than the mining facilities. That suggests they are after something specific. Data? Yara suggested. Colonial records, geological surveys, something informational rather than material? Possible, Marcus agreed. Or they are after someone. Epsilon 7 has a research station attached to the mining operation. Several prominent xenoarchaeologists were cataloging pre-spaceflight artifacts discovered in the deeper tunnels. Elena felt pieces of a puzzle clicking together. Artifacts? The Voskar spent a decade in the galactic rim. What if they found something out there? What if they are searching for related technology? That would explain why they came out of hiding, Dr. Tanaka said. If they discovered precursor technology or ancient weapons, they might be trying to assemble a complete set. The precursor civilizations were a mystery that haunted galactic archaeology. Dozens of advanced species had risen and fallen, millions of years before current civilization emerged. They left behind ruins, artifacts, and occasionally functional technology that no one fully understood. Most precursor sites were sealed by council decree, after several catastrophic incidents involving activated ancient systems. If the Voskar are hunting precursor technology, this situation just became exponentially more dangerous, Elena said. We are not just rescuing colonists. We are preventing the Voskar from acquiring weapons that could destabilize the entire galactic order. The weight of that realization settled over the team. They had volunteered for a rescue mission. Now they were facing something that could spark a war affecting billions of lives across hundreds of worlds. 16 hours to Epsilon 7, O'Brien announced over the intercom. I suggest everyone get some rest. It is going to be a long day when we arrive. But nobody rested. The human team spent the journey checking weapons, reviewing tactics, and preparing for a battle that would test every skill they possessed. They were 8 soldiers flying toward an enemy force of unknown size, racing to protect 15,000 civilians from a threat that had defeated every opponent it had encountered. Most species would have considered the situation hopeless. But humans were not most species. They were Deathworlders who had climbed to the top of their planet's food chain through stubbornness, creativity, and the absolute refusal to accept defeat. The Voskar Collective was about to learn why the galaxy had learned to fear what Earth could do when humanity decided to fight. The stars streaked past as the Valkyrie's descent raced toward its destiny, carrying 8 humans who would not stop, would not yield, and would not let innocent people die while they still drew breath. The galaxy was about to remember why Deathworld soldiers were the most dangerous force in civilized space. Into the abyss the Valkyrie's descent dropped from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Epsilon 7 system with all stealth systems engaged. O'Brien had programmed their emergence point to place them behind a small asteroid cluster, buying precious seconds to assess the situation before being detected. What the sensors revealed made everyone's blood run cold. Captain, I count 14 Voskar warships in orbit, Marcus reported, his voice tight with controlled tension. 3 heavy cruisers, 8 corvettes, and 3 troop transports. That is not a raiding party. That is an occupation force. Elena studied the tactical display with mounting concern. The colony itself showed signs of extensive damage. Fires burned across multiple structures, and several of the radiating arms appeared partially collapsed. But what worried her most was the organized pattern of Voskar ground forces visible on thermal scans. They had established a perimeter around the central hub, and were methodically clearing sectors in a grid pattern. This was professional military operation, not the chaotic pillaging she had expected. Life signs? She asked, already knowing the answer would be bad. Dr. Tanaka worked his medical scanners. I am reading approximately 12,000 human-compatible signatures clustered in the underground sections. That is 3,000 fewer than the original population. Nobody needed to ask what happened to those 3,000 people. The Voskar did not take prisoners unless they had specific value. The good news is the underground tunnels are still accessible, Yara observed, studying the structural scans. The Voskar have not fully secured the mining levels. The colonists must have retreated into the deeper sections when the attack started. Which means we have civilians trapped underground with limited supplies and no escape route, Rodriguez said, and a hostile force between them and safety. Sarah Kim was monitoring communication channels. Captain, I am picking up encrypted transmissions from somewhere inside the colony. Someone down there is still coordinating resistance. Can you break the encryption? Elena asked. Working on it. It is a custom protocol probably cobbled together from whatever equipment they had available. Sarah's fingers flew across her console. Got it, patching through now. The voice that emerged from the speakers was female, stressed but maintaining composure despite obvious exhaustion. Unknown vessel. If you're receiving this transmission, be advised that Epsilon 7 is under hostile occupation. Orbital approach is not recommended. We have approximately 11,000 survivors in the lower mining levels, but we are running out of time. The Voskar are cutting through our barricades systematically. We estimate 36 hours before they reach our position. Elena activated the response channel. Epsilon 7, this is Captain Elena Vasquez of Earth's Tactical Response Unit. We are here to extract your people. Identify yourself. There was a pause, then the voice returned with audible relief mixed with disbelief. Earth sent soldiers? Captain, I am Dr. Amara Osi, acting colony administrator. Most of our leadership was killed in the initial assault. I am a xenoarchaeologist, not a military commander. We have been trying to hold positions, but we are civilians with mining equipment facing trained soldiers. Dr. Osei, you have kept 11,000 people alive against overwhelming odds, Elena said firmly. That is more impressive than most military commanders could achieve. Now listen carefully. We are going to land and establish contact. I need you to transmit every scrap of information you have. Voskar troop positions, colony layout, survivor locations, and anything you know about what they are searching for. Searching for? Amara's voice sharpened. Captain, how did you know they are searching for something specific? Educated guess based on their attack pattern. Am I right? Yes, they are trying to reach the precursor site in Sector 7 of the mining network. We sealed it 2 days ago before retreating. But the Voskar are bringing in specialized excavation equipment. Captain, if they access that site, I do not know what they might find. The artifacts we have cataloged are inert, but we have only explored 3% of the installation. There could be active systems deeper inside. Marcus caught Elena's eye and nodded grimly. Their speculation had been correct. This was not about the colony. It was about ancient technology that could reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. Dr. Osei, we are coming to you, Elena said. Hold your position for 18 more hours. Help is on the way. O'Brien was already calculating approach vectors. Captain, I can thread us through the orbital blockade if I come in fast and low, using the planet's magnetic field to mask our signature. But it is going to be a rough ride. Do it, Elena ordered. Everyone strap in. This is going to hurt. The Valkyrie's descent accelerated toward the planet like a meteorite, engines screaming as O'Brien pushed every system past safe operational limits. Voskar sensors detected them when they hit the upper atmosphere, but by then it was too late to organize effective interception. The ship screamed through clouds of superheated plasma as atmospheric friction turned their hull red-hot. Inside, the human crew endured crushing G-forces that would have killed most alien species. O'Brien leveled out barely 300 meters above the colony's surface, weaving between damaged structures, while Voskar ground forces opened fire. Energy bolts sizzled past the ship as point defense systems targeted incoming missiles with rapid precision. The pilot threw the Valkyrie into maneuvers that defied physics and common sense, banking hard around a collapsed storage tower and sliding into a debris-strewn landing zone behind what had once been the colony's emergency shelter. The landing was not gentle. The ship hit hard enough to crack the landing struts and alarms blared throughout the cabin. But they were down, intact, and ready to fight. Everyone out. Move, 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 Elena commanded. The human team poured from the Valkyrie in perfect formation, weapons raised and scanning for threats. They wore combat armor designed specifically for Earth's Special Operations Forces. Lightweight but incredibly strong, equipped with environmental sealing and integrated weapon systems. Each soldier carried equipment that represented the pinnacle of human military engineering, refined through centuries of warfare. The colony was worse than the scans had suggested. Buildings lay in ruins, fires still burning from the initial bombardment. Bodies lay scattered across the open areas, colonists who had not reached shelter in time. The air smelled of smoke, blood, and the acrid chemical signature of Voskar weapons discharge. Contact 300 meters north corridor, Rodriguez called out. Multiple hostiles moving toward our position. Elena assessed the situation instantly. They were in an open area with minimal cover, facing an unknown number of enemy soldiers who knew the terrain. Standard military doctrine would suggest retreating to better position, but standard doctrine was written for soldiers who had time and backup. They had neither. Yara, I need cover now. Rodriguez, Sarah, establish firing positions. Marcus, find us a route to the underground access. Dr. Tanaka, stay mobile and ready for casualties. Move! The team scattered with practiced efficiency. Yara triggered the demolition charges she had prepared during the flight, bringing down a partially damaged wall to create a defensive barrier. Rodriguez and Sarah took positions behind the rubble, rifles trained on the approaching Voskar forces. Marcus pulled up holographic maps on his wrist display, identifying the nearest tunnel entrance. The Voskar soldiers rounded the corner in formation, and Elena got her first clear look at the enemy. They were tall, nearly 3 meters in height with forearms ending in clawed manipulators. Their bodies were covered in thick chitinous armor that looked organic but moved like segmented metal. They carried weapons that hummed with contained energy, and their movements showed military discipline. "Hold fire until they are in optimal range," Elena ordered calmly. "Make every shot count." The Vosker advanced confidently, clearly expecting minimal resistance from scattered colonists. They had fought Council defense forces before and crushed them easily. They had never fought humans. "Fire," Elena commanded. The humans opened up with precise, devastating accuracy. Human weapons were not the most powerful in the galaxy, but they were reliable and humans knew how to use them. Each shot targeted weak points in Voskar armor: joint articulations, sensory organs, structural weak points identified in pre-mission briefings. The lead Vosker soldier fell with a screeching wail that sounded like metal tearing. The second staggered as rounds punched through its lower torso. The third managed to return fire before Rodriguez put 3 rounds through its cranial ridge. But more Voskar were coming. The enemy force had been caught off guard initially, but now they were adapting, using cover, coordinating their advance, calling for reinforcements. "Marcus, tell me you found our route," Elena said. "Firing controlled bursts while tracking multiple targets. Tunnel access 60 meters east, but it is sealed with an emergency bulkhead. Yara, can you crack it?" "Give me 2 minutes," Yara responded, already sprinting toward the tunnel entrance with her engineering kit. "We do not have 2 minutes," Rodriguez observed, dropping an empty magazine and smoothly loading a fresh one. "We have about 45 seconds before they flank our position." Elena made a tactical decision. "Sarah, lay down suppressing fire. Dr. Tanaka, smoke grenades now." "Rodriguez, you are with me. We are going to buy Yara her 2 minutes." What happened next would later be analyzed in military academies across human space as a textbook example of aggressive defense. Elena and Rodriguez charged directly toward the Voskar position, using smoke cover and the enemy's own shock at such audacity to close the distance. They moved with the speed and precision that only Deathworld evolution could produce, dodging incoming fire with reflexes honed on a planet where predators could kill in an instant. Rodriguez threw a flashbang grenade that overloaded Voskar sensory organs, adapted to lower light levels. While they reeled, Elena swept through their formation like a storm, her combat knife finding gaps in armor that weapons fire could not penetrate. She moved with brutal efficiency, not wasting motion, every strike calculated to disable or kill. The Voskar had size and strength advantages, but they were fighting someone who had trained every day since childhood, in combat techniques refined through 10,000 years of human warfare. Elena did not fight fair. She fought to win, bulkhead open, Yara shouted from the tunnel entrance. "Fall back," Elena ordered. "Combat retreat standard pattern." The team withdrew in coordinated stages, each soldier covering the others while moving toward the tunnel. Rodriguez threw a final explosive charge that brought down part of the corridor ceiling, buying them precious seconds. They dove through the bulkhead entrance as Voskar weapons fire scarred the walls around them. Yara slammed the emergency controls, and the heavy blast door ground shut with a satisfying thud that cut off the pursuing enemy. Inside the tunnel, the team paused for a moment, catching their breath. The air was cooler here, smelling of rock dust and recycled atmosphere. Emergency lighting cast everything in a dim red glow. "Sound off," Elena ordered. "Anyone hit?" "Negative," came the response from each team member. Minor impacts absorbed by armor, but no serious injuries. Dr. Tanaka was already scanning ahead with his medical sensors. "I am reading life signs deeper in the tunnel network, consistent with Dr. Osi's reported survivor count." "Then let us go meet our clients," Elena said. "Stay alert. The Voskar might have forces already in the tunnel system." They moved deeper into the mining colony's underground network, weapons ready and senses sharp. The tunnels were wide enough to accommodate mining vehicles, with support beams every 10 meters and occasional side passages leading to excavation sites. Signs of hasty colonist retreat were everywhere. Abandoned equipment, scattered personal belongings, bloodstains where the injured had been carried. They had traveled approximately 200 meters when a voice called out from the shadows. "Stop right there. Identify yourselves or we open fire." "Stand down," Elena called back calmly. "We are the help you requested. Captain Elena Vasquez, Earth Tactical Response Unit. We spoke with Dr. Osi approximately 45 minutes ago." Lights flickered on. revealing a makeshift barricade manned by exhausted colonists wielding improvised weapons. Mining lasers, industrial cutting tools, even metal pipes. They looked terrified but determined. Behind the barricade, hundreds of civilians huddled in the wider tunnel section, including many children. A woman emerged from behind the barricade, dark-skinned with close-cropped hair and eyes that showed intelligence sharpened by crisis. She wore the torn remains of a researcher's jumpsuit and carried a datapad like it was a weapon. Dr. Amara Osei, she introduced herself. You actually made it. I was not certain anyone would come. We always come, Elena said simply. That is what humans do. Amara studied the 8 soldiers who had fought their way through an occupation force, and Elena could see the calculations running behind her eyes. 8 people against thousands of Voskar. The xenoarchaeologist was intelligent enough to understand the odds. Can you truly save us, Captain? Or did you just come here to die with us? Elena smiled, and it was not a gentle expression. Dr. Osei, my species spent 10,000 years learning how to survive against impossible odds. We have been outnumbered before. We have faced enemies who were stronger, faster, and better equipped, and we are still here because humans do not know how to quit. She turned to address the gathered civilians, raising her voice so everyone could hear. I know you are scared. I know you have lost friends and family. I know this situation looks hopeless. But I need you to understand something. You are under the protection of Earth's military now, and Earth does not abandon its people. We are going to hold this colony until Galactic Council forces arrive. We are going to make the Voskar regret ever coming here, and we are going to get every single one of you home safely. That is my promise to you. The colonists stared at her with mixture of hope and disbelief. They wanted to believe, but they had seen what the Voskar could do. Marcus stepped forward, his tactical display showing colony schematics. Dr. Osei, we need complete information. Voskar force disposition, survivor distribution, structural integrity of these tunnels, and everything you know about the precursor site they are trying to reach. Amara pulled up her own datapad, and the two began comparing notes. Elena listened while simultaneously organizing defensive positions. She set Rodriguez and Sarah to reinforce the barricades, assigned Yara to assess the tunnel's structural integrity, and had Dr. Tanaka begin medical evaluation of the survivors. The Voskar have approximately 2,000 ground troops, Amara explained. They initially tried overwhelming assault, but pulled back when we collapsed several tunnel sections. Now they are systematically cutting through our barriers. They have already breached sectors 1 through 4. We estimate they will reach this position in 36 hours, maybe less. The precursor site? Elena pressed. Amara's expression grew troubled. It is in Sector 7, the deepest part of the mining network. We discovered it 8 months ago during expansion operations. Standard protocol dictates we should have reported it immediately to Council authorities, but we wanted to catalog preliminary findings first. The site appears to be some kind of research facility, but everything inside is dormant. We have found tools, workstations, data storage devices all inert for millions of years. But the Voskar think they can activate it, Marcus said. Apparently, they brought specialized equipment, energy resonance scanners, harmonic generators, technology I do not recognize. Captain, if they wake up something in that installation and it is a weapon system. She did not finish the sentence. Elena understood. Precursor technology operated on principles current science barely comprehended. A fully functional ancient weapon could destroy planets, star systems, maybe more. The Voskar could not be allowed to access it. How long until they breach the site? Elena asked. Their current pace suggests 18 hours. We sealed the entrance with mining charges that collapsed half a kilometer of tunnel, but they are cutting through the debris with industrial equipment. Elena gathered her team for quick tactical conference. Options? We could evacuate the survivors through alternative routes, Marcus suggested. Get them to the surface in sectors the Voskar have not secured, then coordinate extraction. Leaving the precursor site in Voskar hands, Rodriguez countered. That is not an option. We split the team, Yara proposed. Half escort civilians, half moves to defend the site. Splitting an already outnumbered force is suicide, Dr. Tanaka observed. Elena looked at the map, her tactical mind racing through possibilities and probabilities. Standard military thinking said they should evacuate and let Council forces deal with the precursor site. But standard military thinking assumed you had time and resources. They had neither. We are not leaving that site in Voskar hands, Elena decided. But we are also not abandoning these civilians. So we are going to do something the enemy will not expect. We are going to make them abandon the site voluntarily. Her team looked at her with varying expressions of curiosity and concern. They knew that tone of voice. It meant their captain had formulated a plan that was either brilliant or insane, possibly both. Marcus, can you hack the colony's environmental systems from here? With Dr. Ose's access codes, yes. What are you thinking? Elena pointed to the map, tracing tunnel routes with her finger. The Voskar are cutting toward the precursor site along this main passage. What if that passage became the most dangerous place on this colony? Yara, can you rig controlled collapses that would trap enemy forces without bringing down the entire tunnel network? With enough explosives and the right structural calculations, yes. But Captain, we are talking about turning kilometers of tunnel into a killing ground. That is a lot of preparation for 8 people. Then we recruit help, Elena said, turning to Amara. Dr. Osi, you have 11,000 civilians here. Some of them must be engineers, construction workers, people who understand this colony's infrastructure. Amara nodded slowly. We have approximately 800 people with relevant technical skills. But Captain, they are not soldiers. They do not need to be soldiers. They need to be people who are tired of running and ready to fight for their home. Can you organize them? For the first time since the attack began, Amara smiled. It was a fierce expression that showed the steel beneath her academic exterior. Captain Vasquez, every person in these tunnels has lost someone to the Voskar. You want volunteers to make those bastards pay? I will have 1,000 people ready to work within the hour. Outstanding. Marcus, coordinate with Dr. Osi on environmental warfare options. Yara, organize demolition teams. Rodriguez, start training civilians in basic defensive tactics. Sarah, Dr. Tanaka, set up proper medical facilities. I want this position turned into a fortress that could hold against an army. We are facing an army, Rodriguez pointed out. Then I guess we better make this one hell of a fortress. What followed was 18 hours of frantic preparation that transformed the survivor camp into something the Voskar had never encountered before. Colonists who had spent days cowering in terror now worked with determined fury, following human instructions to rig traps, prepare ambush positions, and turn their mining colony into a weapon. Yara taught engineers how to place shaped charges that would bring down tunnel ceilings precisely where needed. Marcus showed computer technicians how to hijack environmental controls, cycling oxygen levels and temperature settings to create zones that would slow Voskar soldiers without killing colonists. Rodriguez drilled civilians in basic defensive tactics, teaching them how to use mining equipment as weapons, and Elena walked among them, learning names, understanding their stories, showing them that humans cared about more than just tactics and violence. She spoke with a Pelthian family who had lost their father in the initial attack. She sat with elderly Morvani scholars who refused to abandon their research notes. She held children who cried for parents they would never see again. Each conversation strengthened her resolve. These people deserved to live. They deserved to go home, to rebuild, to remember this nightmare as something they survived rather than something that destroyed them. And if 8 human soldiers had to stand between them and extinction, then that was exactly what would happen. Dr. Tanaka found her after 12 hours of preparation, his expression serious. Captain, you should eat something. You have been working for 16 straight hours. I will eat when the work is done, Elena replied, reviewing defensive schematics. The work will never be done if you collapse from exhaustion. Sit. Eat this. He handed her a ration bar that tasted like cardboard but provided necessary nutrition. Elena, can we truly win this? She looked at him, seeing the doubt he tried to hide. Dr. Tanaka was the team's emotional center, the one who reminded them that behind the tactics and violence they were saving lives. If he was losing faith, the rest of the team felt it too. Honestly, I do not know, she admitted quietly. The odds are terrible. We are outnumbered 200 to 1. Fighting on enemy terms in an environment we barely understand. Standard military analysis says we should lose. But, Dr. Tanaka prompted, but we are human. We evolved on a planet that spent millions of years trying to kill us. Our ancestors survived ice ages, predators, diseases that should have wiped us out. They survived because they refused to give up, because they got creative when strength was not enough, because they protected their own, even when it seemed impossible. That legacy is in our DNA, Kenji. We do not quit. We do not abandon people who need us. And we do not let bastards like the Voskar win. Dr. Tanaka nodded slowly, his doubt fading. Then I suppose we better make sure our medical facilities can handle mass casualties. Because when this starts, it is going to get bloody. It is going to get very bloody, Elena agreed, but not all the blood will be ours. 18 hours after they entered the tunnels, Marcus's sensors detected Voskar forces approaching their position. The enemy had finished cutting through the sealed tunnels and was advancing in force. 2,000 soldiers against 8 humans and 11,000 civilians who had just learned how to fight back. Elena stood at the primary barricade, her team positioned around her, watching enemy forces appear on thermal scans. Behind her, colonists gripped improvised weapons with trembling hands. They were terrified. They had every right to be. "Remember your training," Elena called out, her voice carrying authority and confidence she did not entirely feel. "Let them come to us. Let them enter the kill zones. When they do, we show them what happens when you threaten people under Earth's protection." The Voskar advanced, confident in their superior numbers and firepower. They had crushed every opponent they had faced. They expected this to be another easy victory. They were about to learn why underestimating humans was always a fatal mistake. Comment for next part.